With a completely lacklustre summer now fully behind us, a lot of us are going to be starting to think about gearing up for winter because the cycling game changes quite a bit when the temperature starts to drop. That's not to say that we have to wrap our bikes up until next April and jump on the indoor trainer though. There are still plenty of opportunities to get out on your bike, but you do need to make sure you stay warm, dry and prepare for whatever the road might throw at you. Now I know that winter riding can seem a bit daunting, but with the right gear you can easily keep pedalling through the cold months without any issues at all. So today I'm going to run you through my top 10 most useful things to take with you when heading out on those chilly, wet winter rides. Trust me, these are essentials I've learned the hard way through trial and error. So let's dive in. Alright, let's start with the foundation. Literally, a good thermal base layer is the first thing you should think about when prepping for a winter ride. It's all about keeping your core warm, but not overheating. And here's the thing, winter can be tricky. You might start off freezing, but after a few minutes of climbing or putting in some effort, you're going to start heating up. This is where the magic of a thermal base layer comes in. It's lightweight, breathable, and traps enough heat to keep you warm without turning you into a sweaty mess. And it doesn't have to be expensive. In fact, I got these two from my local Aldi a couple of years ago for about £5 each, and they have never let me down. Do look for something moisture wicking like merino wool, like these two are, so when you do sweat, it doesn't cling to you and make you cold. And remember, fit is key. If it's too loose and flapping around, it won't work as effectively. Okay, next up, let's talk about rain, because if you've cycled through winter before, especially in the UK, you know that rain doesn't care about your ride plans. So a good packable waterproof jacket is an absolute must for staying dry when the weather turns. This jacket here folds up really small and fits right in my back pocket, perfect for when it looks like it might rain, but you're not quite sure. Again, it doesn't have to be expensive, as this one cost me just 20 quid from AliExpress. One thing to look out for though is good seal at the cuffs and around the collar, as you really don't want water sneaking in there, as that will really upset your ride. But don't worry too much about going full waterproof unless you're in heavy rain all the time. A water-resistant jacket like this one can do the trick for most winter rides. And one last point on breathability, as that's what you'll hear a lot about from brands. Now, unfortunately, in my experience at least, no matter which jacket you buy, you're always going to end up slightly wet inside from the heat you're producing, causing condensation inside the jacket. It naturally follows that any material that stops moisture getting in will also stop it getting out. You'll still end up drier than you would have been without the jacket though, but don't fall into the marketing trap of believing the hype on breathable jackets. Some are better than others for sure, but I'm yet to find anything that is absolutely perfect. Now, let's talk feet, because cold feet are a total deal breaker on a ride for me. Once my toes go numb, it's pretty hard for me to enjoy the ride. That's where overshoes come in. These slip over your cycling shoes, keeping the wind and water out. I used to use these neoprene ones from Galibier. They're windproof and waterproof, which is exactly what you need, as it's all about keeping that wind chill off your feet. Now, if you're on an extreme budget, my good friend Cliff swears by tinfoil over your socks inside your shoe to keep your toes warm. So there's always that option. However, on the other end of the budget scale are specific winter boots like these. Now, I bought these Lake winter boots last year, and while they are great at keeping your feet warm and dry, they do come in at upwards of around 150 quid. So they aren't a cheap fix. If you can't feel your toes halfway through a ride though, it's hard to focus on anything else. So, at the very least, overshoes, don't skip them. Moving on to your other extremities, let's keep those fingers warm. Full finger gloves are an absolute no-brainer for winter cycling. Your hands are out in the wind the whole time, holding on to the levers, and it doesn't take too much for them to go numb. Now, there are a ton of options out there. Some are windproof, some are waterproof, and some are just thermal. I have a couple of pairs, both again from Galibier. These first ones are more of an autumn-winter pair, which I sometimes combine with these cheap Carrymore glove liners for even more insulation. If you're thinking of going out when the temperature goes negative, then these deep winter gloves are a must. Don't underestimate how much warmth you'll lose through your hands. It's easy to think you don't need gloves if it's not that cold, but trust me, once you pick up speed, you'll wish you had them. Okay, my next pick is all about safety, because as the days get shorter, you'll probably find yourself riding in low light, even if you head out early afternoon. Having a good set of lights is crucial then, not just to see, but also to be seen. Now, I like to go with a nice bright front light so I can see a good distance ahead, to pick out, unfortunately, all of those potholes across the English roads or other road debris that could end your ride quickly. However, the rear light is even more important, as you want to be sure traffic coming from behind can see you well in advance. I recommend one with a few different flashing modes, as it's way more noticeable and stands out among the other static lights that car drivers might otherwise filter out. Remember, in winter, even mid-afternoon can start looking a little gloomy, especially when there are lots of rain clouds around, which happens quite often over here. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Now, one of the simplest and most useful things for a winter ride is a neck warmer or buff. It's one of those things you don't realise you need until you use it. It keeps the cold air off of your neck, and if it gets really cold, you can pull it up over your face completely. This one is made of merino wool, so it's light but super warm, but there are much thicker options too. If it gets too hot, you can just pull it down and forget about it, but when that cold wind hits your neck, you'll be glad you have one of these. Okay, my next tip is all about keeping your ride going without any unnecessary stops, because constant rain tends to wash all manner of stones and other detritus onto the roads in the winter, meaning flats are more common. And that means you've got to be prepared. Carrying a spare tube and a couple of tyre levers is a must then. Now, I have this Topeak Hexus X multi-tool, which comes with a couple of levers as well as most other tools you'll need to fix any quick roadside problems. Even if you're running a tubeless setup though, having a spare tube can save you if things go wrong, like having a hole that the sealant just won't patch. And on that point, don't rely just on your sealant in the winter, because cold temperatures can seriously mess with it. And leading on from a spare tube, if you do have to change one, you're going to need to inflate it. And that's why I never leave home now without my mini electric pump. But a mini hand pump or a CO2 system would also work. Flats happen, and when they do, you want to get back on the road as fast as possible. Now, CO2 inflators are great for speed, but they do get very, very cold. And when your hands already feel like ice blocks because you're out riding in freezing temperatures, holding a frozen piece of metal is the last thing you want. As an unintended bonus then, with this Cyc Plus electric mini pump, as you're using it, it actually gets hot, which might be a nice bit of relief from the biting cold. Whatever you take though, you just want to make sure that you don't end up standing around for too long at the side of the road so your body temperature doesn't drop too far. Cold weather takes more out of you than you think. Your body is burning energy, not just because you're cycling, but also to keep you warm. And that's why it always pays to pack a few energy gels or bars for a winter ride. The key is to keep it simple and quick. Now, I'm not sponsored by them, but I use these Fellow Forte chews as they fit in a rear jersey pocket very easily. They're easily chewable and they're actually really tasty. They're also, incidentally, made with 100% natural ingredients, so they're the only energy gel I've tried that don't give me dodgy guts the next day. Too much information? You get 6 chews in a pack, and Velo Forte recommend eating 2 every 20 minutes or so with hard efforts. So unless you're going on a seriously long ride, you can get away with taking just maybe 1 or 2 of these to make sure that you don't hit that dreaded bonk halfway through a ride. Now, last but definitely not least are a good set of sunglasses with clear or yellow lenses. These ones are photochromatic, meaning they're clear when it's dark and they turn black when the sun comes out, so you don't need to mess around with changing lenses. It's easy to forget about eye protection though when it's not sunny, but in winter you need these just as much. Between road spray, wind and low angle sunlight, clear or yellow lenses keep your eyes protected while still giving you good visibility on those overcast days. Now, anyone who's watched any of my previous videos might be questioning this one, as I will often be found with my glasses stuck inside my helmet. But when the rain is really hammering down or you're sat behind someone who doesn't have mudguards, you'll be very thankful that you have these. So there are my 10 essential items to keep you rolling through the winter months. It might seem like a lot, but having the right gear makes all the difference between a winter ride that's freezing and miserable and one that's actually quite enjoyable. Now, I've left links to all of these products below, so feel free to go and check them out for yourself. But let me know if you have any other winter riding tips or must-have gear and drop them in the comments below. And don't forget that if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as that really helps me grow, which in turn will help me bring you guys even more, hopefully, useful and entertaining videos. As ever though, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.